Pittsburgh Steelers defeated the Baltimore Ravens 20-19, improving to 6-5-1 on the year, keeping their playoff hopes alive, and Baltimore drops to 8-4. Now, this was a massive upset. A massive upset because I don't think a lot of people picked Pittsburgh to win this game. I know I didn't pick Pittsburgh to win this game, and I'm a diehard Steelers fan. And I was really proud of how this team fought in this game. And this was a very boring game if you're somebody who is a big fan of offense, because going into halftime, it was 7-3. We didn't really see any points until the fourth quarter, where we started to see an onslaught of points being put up on the board. And Pittsburgh scored 17 points in the fourth quarter. I don't understand why Pittsburgh's offense never shows up into the fourth quarter. But hey, in this game, a must-win game with your playoffs hopes on the line and your season on the line, better late than never. I don't understand why Pittsburgh can't play the whole entire game offensively like they do in the fourth quarter. You remember the Chargers, when they came from behind and started putting up all kinds of points on the LA Chargers? Similar thing happened to Baltimore. And if there was somebody who deserved the game ball for Pittsburgh, you definitely had to give it to Big Ben. Big Ben, just a week ago, everybody was talking about how he needs to be benched, how his NFL career is done, coming off a awful showing against the Cincinnati Bengals, in which they just got a butt whooping and they got skull drugged all over the field. Big Ben was the main reason for why Pittsburgh won this game outside of the defense. TJ Watt came up and made big plays. Like always, the defense stepped up. They gave Lamar Jackson a lot of problems. Lamar Jackson and John Harbaugh still can't really seem to crack the code against Pittsburgh, because when Lamar Jackson is starting against Pittsburgh, he normally plays some of his worst games, and he didn't really have a good showing in this one. 23 of 37, 253 passing yards. He had a touchdown, a bad interception, but he was sacked 7 times in this game. 7 times. Like, the Steelers' pass rush was phenomenal in this game. And the Ravens still had 107 yards on the ground. Lamar Jackson accounted for 55 of those. But overall, the Steelers' run defense played pretty well. I was really impressed with the Steelers' defense in this game. And the Steelers' defense has gotten a lot of criticism over the last couple of weeks, especially when you look at the linebacker play. So the Steelers defense played a phenomenal game, but Big Ben, to me, was the MVP of this game. 21 of 31, 236 passing yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. He was great. And we don't really know what the future has in store for Big Ben. There is a report going around that Ben Roethlisberger does not expect to return to the Pittsburgh Steelers next season in 2022. Now, we don't know if that means he's going to retire or if he plans on playing for another team. But this game definitely showed that Big Ben still does have little left in the tank. Now, does he have enough left in the tank that he could survive one more year? I don't really think so. But he definitely has enough in the tank that he definitely can lead Pittsburgh to the playoffs if it comes down to that. And they probably could win a playoff game with Big Ben if the offensive line plays the game that they did against Baltimore, because that Ravens defensive line is incredibly underrated. That rookie they have, Owe, that dude is a monster. And remind you that Pittsburgh did this when only averaging 85 rushing yards on the ground. Deontay Johnson has been incredibly underrated this year. He caught 2 touchdown receptions, 8 receptions, 105 receiving yards. He is having a phenomenal season. He's on pace for 1,200, 1,300 yards, and he definitely should be on your Pro Bowl ballot. So if you haven't gone ahead and voted for the Pro Bowl yet, make sure that you go ahead and vote Deontay Johnson in, because he's having a really great season for Pittsburgh. And remind you that last year in 2020, Deontay Johnson was amongst the league leaders last year in the NFL and dropped. So So he definitely has been the most reliable option in the passing game for Pittsburgh this year. He also had another phenomenal game, but I was really impressed with how Ben Roethlisberger handled himself in this game and stepped up in a very critical spot. And this team has a lot of fight, because the Pittsburgh Steelers could have easily lied down and said that, you know what, this game is over, it's no point. But with the Steelers, knowing that their season is on the line, their playoff hopes are on the line, this was a must-win game. They got it done. Now for Baltimore, this team continues to amaze me, because Baltimore has so many injuries. Start of the season, you lose 4 running backs. Gone. Out for the year. Marlon Humphrey, he's now done. Okay, you lost Deshaun Elliott. He's gone. Like, man, majority of the Ravens starters are out for the year. They're on IR. They're literally picking up guys off the street to come play. So, I mean, like, you have to give the Ravens a lot of props for how they have performed this year. And on top of that, they're still in the running for the #1 overall seed. Now, I believe Baltimore is going to make it to the playoffs. I don't see them having a late season collapse, even though they haven't played as great as what they did at the start of the year. Lamar Jackson's MVP hype is now starting to die down a little bit, but overall, this team has showed a lot of resiliency. But Pittsburgh showed more resiliency in the fourth quarter. And Pittsburgh is not a playoff football team if we're looking at this team from a talent standpoint. And I know a lot of people get upset when I say that, but the reason why Pittsburgh is in playoff contention right now is because of Mike Tomlin, and on top of that, the veteran leadership of Big Ben. And not enough people are talking about that. This is a fairly young Pittsburgh Steelers team. This is a young Steelers team with a lot of inexperience, a lot of rookies in. Heck, there were 2 rookie starters. Well, a rookie starter on the offensive line. You got Kendrick Green. You had Dan Moore. Like, this team is very young. Like, there are a lot of rookie starters on this team. There are a lot of inexperienced guys on this team. There are guys who don't even have a lot of years playing under their belt. So for Mike Tomlin, this has been a really good coaching job that he's done so far this year. And I know a lot of people look back at the Lions loss, or the Lions tie. I still chalk it up as a loss because he didn't win. And a lot of people felt like Pittsburgh should have won that game. And they definitely should. But at the end of the day, Pittsburgh is still in playoff contention. And if Mike Tomlin was not the coach for this football team, I strongly doubt that Pittsburgh right now would be in the position that they are in right now. So hats off to Pittsburgh for a great performance. Now for Baltimore, what does this loss mean for you? Well, you're still in the running for the #1 overall seed. You still are ahead in the division. And I still think that Baltimore most likely should win this division unless Cincinnati is able to come up from behind and surprise everybody. But overall, despite the injuries that Baltimore has, this still is their division to lose. They still have all their goals ahead of them. They still can clinch the #1 overall seed in the AFC, which is something that they need more than any other team. Like, this, if there was one team in the AFC who needed that first round bye more than anybody, it would be the Baltimore Ravens. As a matter of fact, I don't think there's no other team in the NFL who needs that #1 overall seed more in that first round bye than Baltimore. With how banged up this team has been, with how many injuries they suffered, they need that #1 overall seed more than any other team in the league. And you know, me as a Steelers fan, I hope they don't get it because I don't want to see Baltimore have a lot of success. But at the same time, you know, from an unbiased standpoint, I hope that Baltimore is able to have that #1 overall seed so they can rest up. Now, Cincinnati is right on Baltimore's trail. They are a game back of Baltimore for tying with the 2 best records in the AFC North. And also, you can't forget about the Browns. Pittsburgh still is in the running. I don't really know how that tie affects things. Like, the tie is kind of weird and things like that. But Lamar Jackson didn't really have a great showing. And Lamar Jackson hasn't really been playing a lot of MVP caliber football. Now, you know, we understand that the Ravens are kind of depleted at a lot of positions. The wide receiver position still is ongoing development. Still have some young guys there. You're still trying to get Rashard Bateman going. You got Marquise Brown, who's been having a pretty solid season. But I mean, I felt like Lamar Jackson definitely could have played a lot better in this game. And we definitely got to talk about the 2-point conversion try by John Harbaugh, which sealed the game pretty much for Pittsburgh. I don't disagree with the decision to go for 2. And I like how aggressive John Harbaugh is. There are a lot of coaches that play to lose instead of playing to win. John Harbaugh was playing to win. And sometimes it pays off. Sometimes it backfires. That's just what it is. And I don't really think it's anything against John Harbaugh. I agree with the decision. Now, the play probably could have been executed a lot better. Maybe the play calling during that situation could have been a little bit different, because I probably wouldn't have tried to call that kind of pass play. I don't know why so many teams like to call those kind of plays in the red zone or on 2-point conversions. Doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. Like, yeah, if you can get the defense biting on the fake and they go to the other side, then yeah, it works. But overall, if I'm in that situation, I'm trying to pound the football in with either a design quarterback run with Lamar Jackson, or I'm giving it to Devontae Freeman so he can run through the middle and convert. So I don't really have any gripes against the decision of Baltimore to try to win the game. I think it was a good decision. It backfired, unfortunately, and that's just the world we live in, when, we're judged based on the decisions that we make. So if we make a decision that ends up paying off, and we get a lot of praise for it, but if we end up making a decision that ends up backfiring in our faces, then we get a lot of heat for it. That's just the world that we live in. I don't think now it's the wrong choice to go for it to win the game 1-2. Now, it definitely was a sloppy performance from Baltimore all the way around. This definitely is a game that a lot of Ravens fans are going to feel like they let slip out their hands. But overall, you still have the whole season in front of you. You can still get the number 1 seed. You can still win the AFC North. So you guys let me know how you guys feel about this game down in the comment section down below.